Hello and welcome to GameSack. Let's take a look at some games that don't quite get as much attention as they should these days. Like this first one. Now when it initially came out, it was kind of a big deal, but as other games in the series started being released, people sort of began maybe being a little bit apathetic about it. Here's Shining in the Darkness on the Genesis from Climax Entertainment. This was the very first game in the Shining series. In fact, this was Climax's very first game, period. Climax was started by ex-Chunsoft employees. They made the Dragon Quest games for Enix on the Famicom. It's not a strategy game like you might expect with the Shining Force series, but instead it's a dungeon crawler with turn-based random battles. A girl has been kidnapped and you need to rescue her. You start off by going into town and talking to the locals in the tavern. It's here that you can take a nap to restore your life and magic points if need be. Inside this town are other useful things like an armory to buy armor and shields and the like, a weapon shop to buy, you guessed it, weapons. And there's also an alchemist. Here you buy stuff like herbs or items that will let you escape from the mazes. You know, crap like that. I like how the merchants react when you open a window if you try to sell something. Like this lady looks directly at the menu. I kinda get the impression that these guys would rather take your money than give you theirs. Kinda funny, nice touch. You then head into the maze, and now it's a first-person adventure similar to the original Phantasy Star on the Master System. You move around and fight the aforementioned random battles. I did mention those, right? Let me check my script. Ah yes, I did. So yeah, they are aforementioned. You eventually beat a large boss-like creature and get the princess's tiara. You want to take it back and show it to the king to advance your quest. At this point, you'll also pick up other people who will travel and fight with you. Now, you have to pass 4 trial mazes. These can be a little bit of a pain in the ass. Well, actually, the first one is pretty easy. You just need to survive it. The final one, called the Wisdom Trial, is super annoying. There are these holes in the floor where you can fall into, just like I did here. Pretty fun, but probably easy to avoid, right? No! That one's like the only one that you can see, so you'll constantly be falling down below in this level. Reminds me again of Phantasy Star 1. Fortunately, you can find maps which show you where the invisible holes are, but you need to keep looking at it again and again as you move one step at a time. After passing this, you can go into the labyrinth proper. At first, the menu system is a bit odd since it uses icons for everything, but you get used to it quickly. This style of menu would go on to be a mainstay in the series. There are some annoyances, like when you get a key, you need to use it each and every time to unlock doors. Same with the Orb of Truth, getting past this living wall. Why doesn't he stay dead? Oh well. You really need to like dungeon mazes and lots of random battles to truly appreciate this one. I mean, really like them. And trust me, you will. Why's that? Well, because gamers love mazes more than anything else in the world. Fortunately, it's put together very well and it plays nicely, so it becomes easy to enjoy. The game is around 25 hours long, so be prepared to put in a bunch of time. If you like these kinds of games, that's not bad. Graphically, I really do appreciate what they tried to do here, but I think it could have been even a little better. The playfield is very small, and the floor and ceiling don't animate when you turn. Looks kinda weird. There are things on the walls, floors, and even the ceilings to help you keep track of where you are, but I do wish there could have been a bit more variety. It's still way better than the very large majority of dungeon crawlers on PC, which don't animate much, if at all. The game is 8 megabits, but man, I really wish it were 12. I mean, there was a 12 meg game on the Genesis a year before this one came out. Another 4 megs would have definitely helped give this one more variety. And hell, maybe even a bigger screen. The music is good, but again, I wish there were a bit more of it. Still, do not overlook this one. The maps are all available online, which makes this game way less frustrating nowadays than it was when it came out. You don't have to use them, but hey, no shame if you do, right? I'm always compelled to keep going in this one, diving back into the dungeon to see if I can get farther and just figuring everything out. And to me, that is a mark of a fantastic game. This one's definitely worth trying out, so make sure that you do. This next one is kind of the opposite of Shining in the Darkness' situation in that it's a sequel, but it's the first game that gets all of the attention. Even back when this came out, not a whole lot was said about it. No, I didn't even know it existed until maybe 15 years later. Rad Racer was an early game from Square on the Nintendo Entertainment System. We all know what this is. It's basically a poor man's Outrun, but for the time it was really cool on the console with some smooth hills. It's a driving game where you're racing the clock, not the other racers. You need to hold the accelerator button as well as up on the D-pad at all times, otherwise there's no way you're going to make these checkpoints. It's kind of a thumb killer. You switch music by pressing down on the D-pad, and I find that this can happen unintentionally quite often during a race. You can also choose to race as an F1 car if you prefer. Again, this was great for its time, and it's also a game that everyone remembers. But hardly anyone ever talks about Rad Racer 2, also from Square. As you'd expect, this is another driving game where you race the clock, going from stage to stage. You can only race as a red sports car this time around. The setup is similar, make it past a few checkpoints and to the end of each stage. You still want to hold up as you drive, as that will make you go faster, but you'll no longer get the audio response from doing so, nor does the screen constantly shake as it did in the first game, thank God. You won't accidentally be switching music tracks during a race either. Square did what they should have done in the original, and that's let you choose a track before each race. There are only 2 music tracks here as opposed to the 3 in the first game, and they're not bad, but, not great either. They're just, they're fine. The same could also be said for the first game's music. I highly doubt that this musician will go on to do anything notable. As if. The game is a little tougher than the first because some of the other cars will hang around and not let you pass, often making a beeline straight into you to smash you. I'm just trying to pass, don't take it personally, idiot. I mean, we're all just racing the clock here, not each other, you're just gonna slow yourself down. The game is still pretty fun though. Your car is no longer locked to the center of the screen like it was in the first game and most other racing games made in Japan. I'm not sure why they changed that, but it doesn't make the game any worse. It just makes it feel a bit slippery for the first 2, maybe 3 seconds that you play it. After that, you'll be fine. They also fixed some of the graphical flaws that were in the original. In the first game on a straightaway, if you move to the left, the road would curve left, and to the right if you move to the right. In this one, the road stays straight, like it should, no matter what you do. The game all around feels smoother too. They did a great job with the detailed background graphics. The clouds in the first stage put the Master System version of Outrun's clouds to shame. I mean, just look at that. Shame on you, Outrun, shame! Rad Racer 2 does get rid of the 3D mode that was in the first game, but I don't think anyone misses that. If you like the original Rad Racer, be sure to give Rad Racer 2 here a go. This is PN03 on the GameCube from Capcom. I mentioned this one briefly almost a year ago back in the GameCube Part 2 episode. It's a third-person shooter that's a little quirky, but it's more enjoyable than I thought it would be when I first started playing it. You play as Vanessa, who's doing various jobs for a mysterious client. He contacts you between each action segment and tells you what you're going to be doing next. As far as the action goes, you fire off your main attack from your hands thanks to the specialized suit that you wear. You lock onto an enemy, and you can change which one you're locked onto by pressing the X button, but I did find that this sometimes gets a little wonky. Some enemies require that you do this. You have to defeat the robots that are generating the shields around the ones that you were just shooting, for example. You can also jump, duck, turn around, and dodge left and right. You need to have some good timing to dodge a lot of these shots, especially in the higher levels. Lastly, each suit has a few different special attacks it can do. These are done by inputting D-pad commands and then pressing the attack button. These can vary from supercharged shots, a flurry of homing missiles, increasing your attack power temporarily, things like that. Of course, it's mandatory that Vanessa needs to do a long-ass dance move before any of these special abilities are active. I mean, it makes sense. No, it doesn't. Each room has a set number of enemies to kill, and then you can exit. You usually don't need to kill everything to leave though. The faster you do it and the more enemies you kill, the more bonus points you get. You spend the points at the shop between each stage. You can power up various abilities of your suit like the shield and the firepower strength. You can also buy brand new suits that are very expensive which have better abilities. However, keep in mind that you also need to power these up. You can even buy extra continues, and you only get 1 life per continue. But you also earn a lot more as you play through the game normally. If you die, you usually restart in the beginning of the same room that you died in. In the larger levels, there are sometimes shops midway through. And as you guessed, there are often bosses to fight. Some of them have patterns for you to figure out and are pretty fun, but a few of them are also crazy easy. Overall, the control mostly works well enough for the game, but it can be difficult to shift the view of your character, as it seems to be designed if it were being controlled by a D-pad, so you kind of snap into the various directions. Too bad that this one doesn't have true dual stick controls, but hey, this was the GameCube era. That control style wasn't wildly accepted yet. Unfortunately, the graphics aren't very good. Objects in the background are very low resolution, there's a ton of dithering and a ton of banding and not much color at all. Sometimes you get to be outside running around, but not often. Like here, where you need to avoid the spotlights at night. Usually you'll be inside, and everything in here looks pretty much the same, basically monochrome rooms and corridors. It really does need a lot more variety in the levels. They did a great job on Vanessa's ass, though. I like the music here quite a bit. It kind of makes me feel like I'm playing Gun Valkyrie on the Xbox. It helps keep you going, or at least it helps keep me going. I do think that this premise has lots of potential if they had developed it into a series. Come on, Capcom, it's not too late to do that. I think it would have gotten more notice if it had more variety and a better name than PN03. I mean, seriously, what a stupid name. Instead, it should be called Vanessa's Glorious Ass. It's absolutely worth checking out, so try it if you can. And like I said, I think a sequel could be incredibly awesome. Up next is a game that's admittedly not a favorite of mine, but I still really do admire its qualities. Plus, not everyone in the world has the same taste I do, and you know what, that's totally fine, but I figure some of you are gonna like it if you give it a try. This one's called Alisia Dragoon, and it's from Game Arts on the Genesis. This one flew way under the radar at the time of its release, and it still doesn't get talked about much, but it's definitely interesting and unique. A silver star fell from the sky, and now evil exists. Someone needs to get it. That's all the story you get before you set off on your journey. Do you need any more story than that? Of course not. You play as Alisia, of course. You attack with lightning bolts, which is pretty cool, and they usually seek out the closest enemy automatically. You can't just use it like crazy though, because it has a power meter that drains as it's used. Fortunately, it recharges pretty fast. At full charge, it can hit everything on the screen. You also have a monster floating around. It occasionally offers its own attacks with its own recharging power meter. You and the monster both have independent life bars and can level up. Eventually, you'll be able to select from a bunch of different monsters and you can level them all up independently. To be honest, I've never found them to be tremendously helpful. I mean, they're better than nothing, but not much. You also each have your own independent life bars, and yes, the monsters can die. You don't level up with experience by killing enemies, but instead by collecting certain items from the floating power-up thingies. In fact, what you want to do is explore everywhere that you can in any given level to find as many floating power-up thingies as you can. They'll often just have life and energy refills, but can sometimes level you up or the monster you have selected. So there's a little bit of learning to do via repeated playthroughs to maximize your exploration. When you finish a level, the computer deselects your monster for some reason. Why does it do that? You then need to reselect a monster when you begin the new stage. It's such a bizarre design choice they made. This is a rather difficult game, and it can be quite tough to avoid taking hits. Enemies tend to be chaotic and all over the place. As the game progresses, many of the common enemies become damage sponges. The graphics are really cool, especially for their time considering that this is still one of the black box with a grid Genesis games. There's definitely some interesting artwork in here that doesn't look like any other game. The music is great as well. It fits the game perfectly. It was done by Meccano Associates, is that how you say it? They're the audio powerhouse behind the smash hit Genesis game Kageki. Everyone remember Kageki? No? Well, I guess I don't blame you. All in all, this game is unique and you might want to check it out to see if you enjoy it. Is it one of my personal favorites? Well, I really do like the first few levels, but the damage sponginess of the enemies in the later levels kinda deters me a bit. But hey, maybe it won't deter you, so give it a shot. This is Lufia and the Fortress of Doom on the Super NES, developed by Neverland and published by Taito! Ooh. This is a turn-based JRPG that I rarely see anyone else mention. Basically, the story is that some nonsense happens and an island appears in the sky. You start playing this prologue as 4 characters. You get into lots of battles and you're extremely overpowered, mainly as a way for you to get used to all of the commands and whatnot. I tell you, doing it this way beats the hell out of a tutorial. It doesn't take very long before you have a feel for how the battles work. As you're walking, the screen does a transition, but you fight the battle on that same screen as it reappears, only dimmer. Fortunately, the battles feel brisk instead of annoying, at least right now. Eventually, you fight the 4 final bosses, all of whom go down pretty easily. Suddenly, it's 100 years later and you're playing as Sack, named after the smash hit runaway show on YouTube called Game Sack. I mean, you can name your character, but yeah. Anyway, you have a friend named Lufia who you've known since you were kids. Naturally, there's something a bit mysterious about her. But get this, after 100 years of peace, monsters have started appearing again. I mean, that does make sense though. 100 is a nice round number, and things that are evil in video games love round numbers. You set off to investigate and fight your own battles, though now you're way weaker and begin at level 1. I advise you to grind your way to level 3 or 4 before going to the next town. Fortunately, I kinda like grinding. You find that the next town was attacked, and now it's up to you to save the world! Soon, Lufia joins you and she has to level up from 1 as well, but it happens quickly. The more members that are in your party, the more monsters appear when you get into a random battle. As a result, the battles can slow down because all the monsters have to do their little thing, and so do you. You've got to be careful though. If more than one character targets an enemy, and that enemy dies before the second character has their turn, they'll attack the air instead of automatically redirecting their attack to one of the other surviving enemies like a normal RPG. So be aware of this as you target enemies. The encounter rate is really high. You usually won't be able to go more than a few steps before a random battle occurs. You kinda do get used to it though. You can use an item called Sweetwater to reduce it a bit temporarily. You also have to grind for experience and money every so often, just like in most RPGs. The basic menus and shops are a bit quirky at first, but you'll get used to them pretty quickly. The shops have a buy and a look feature. Look tells you how it affects your character's stats. You can buy the item from the look menu, so I'm not sure why buy can't also have the features of look. We really don't need both. The graphics are all very basic. The color is quite pleasant, but the detail is lacking and it doesn't look much better than an 8-bit game. The monsters in the battles have no animation frames other than flipping back and forth when they attack. The game does have a few 16-bit flourishes though, like a touch of parallax scrolling, some exciting transparent clouds, and a cool mosaic effect when you're walking on something that hurts you. The sound and the music are fine, nothing amazing, but thankfully not annoying either. I did kind of get into this game. It's definitely engaging enough to keep you playing. I haven't played the sequel yet, and I hear that one's better, but it's still not up there with the likes of Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger when people reminisce about the RPGs on the console. Maybe I'll give that one a go next time. Would you consider Lufia 2 criminally overlooked? Alright, I've got 2 more for you today. The first one is a unique take on the racing genre that ended up being pretty fun. The second one is a ninja game, except that you're not a ninja, you're a samurai. I'm not sure which is better, samurai or ninja. What do you think? This is Split Second on the Xbox 360 from BlackRock Studio and Disney Interactive Studios. It's also on the PlayStation 3, PSP, PC, and iOS. The Xbox 360 game is backwards compatible with future Xboxes. As you can see, this is another racing game. But not just any racing game. The premise is that you're in an episodic TV show, similar to Alan Wake, except his game wasn't about racing. This is a reality show where you try to survive various tracks which are rigged with tons of traps. Basically, as you drift, catch air, and do other reckless things, you build up a meter that's below your car. Once that first partition is filled, you can trigger a trap ahead of you at various points around the track. You'll see target indications on the cars that are in front of you, and if you time it right, an explosion or other crazy trap will take them out, helping you gain the lead. You can also change the track layout if you have the gauge completely full at certain points. However, keep in mind that the enemy cars can do all of this too. It kind of makes it like a kart racer in that way, as the final result does rely on a little bit of luck and not skill alone. I mean, I don't care how good you are, there's no way you're going to avoid some of this stuff. That's okay though, the game's pretty lenient, and you usually only need to get third place or better to move on. You can also redo races if you want to try to get a better result. After you finish all of the races in one episode, you move on to the next. You get a teaser as you move out of the current episode and an intro when you start the next one. Very similar to Alan Wake.
In the next exciting episode, come face to face with a truckload of trouble.
Naturally, you unlock lots of different fictional cars which have different specs. Be careful which one you choose. It won't do you much good if you have a high-speed car that takes a full minute to get there. Acceleration is more important, at least it is for me. The control is excellent, so long as you're using a car that suits you. The game's presentation feels like it could fit in with the Burnout universe. Granted, it's not quite as fast as those games, as there's no boosting as there is in Burnout, but this title clearly draws a lot of inspiration from Burnout 3 and Burnout Revenge. In fact, it has similar styles of racing, like elimination, where the back of the pack gets eliminated as the timer counts down. Not that that mode was exclusive to Burnout games or anything. This one also has its own unique special events, like this one where you need to pass as many trucks as you can, but they're dropping barrels. The red barrels? Yeah, those are gonna wreck you. The graphics are excellent for their time, giving a realistic look with gritty detail and mostly muted colors. It only runs at 30 frames per second, but that's what you'd expect from this era. I mean, you know, except for the Burnout games, those ran at 60. I do wish that there were more variety in the racing locations. You race in the same place a little too much for my taste. The sound design is excellent, and the music keeps the energy level high. This one really doesn't get mentioned often. In fact, I had forgotten the name of this one completely. I was thinking about it as I had played it in the past, but for the life of me, I could not recall the name of this game. Eventually I did though, and well, here we are. It's really too bad a sequel to this one never came out. I would have loved to see a more modern version. Check it out if you like insane racing games from the first high-definition generation of consoles. Here's Kenseiden from Sega on the Master System. This flew by with little fanfare in its own time, and of course, since it's on the Master System, it doesn't get talked about much these days. You play as an authentic Japanese samurai named Hayato. Basically, you need to get the dragon sword and some scrolls that were stolen from your family, and you might as well defeat the final boss while you're at it. That's right, you don't have to save the entire universe, or even the world. You don't even need to rescue a kidnapped girl. No wonder nobody ever talks about this one. As you've probably noticed by now, you can jump and slash with your sword. The action controls really well, for the most part. You do need to be careful when taking a hit when you're on a set of stairs though, because you will go to the bottom and there's nothing you can do about it. If the stairs or incline lead to a bottomless pit, well, guess who loses a life? There are 6 bosses in the game to defeat before you fight the final boss. Some of these guys are pretty cool. 5 of them will offer up one of the stolen scrolls when they die. Reading the scroll nets you a new skill, like jumping high, a sword slash, or running all crazy like a mofo. Your lazy ass probably should have read these scrolls before they were stolen so that you'd have these skills from the get-go. But no, you had to keep scrolling on your phone. There are other items that you can collect, like life refills, sword power-ups, one-ups, and things like that. There's a map of Japan that has a bunch of stages, and you can choose which one you go to next. What, you can't read the names? Well then you can go straight to hell, because this game is authentic Japanese through and through, bitch! And yes, this is the US version of the game. I love that the game even has authentic Japanese when you read a scroll, like, "Thou have learnt to slash with your sword." Or, "Thou canst now smash the helmet of foe." Or how about, "Thou canst hast the power of a berserker." This game was localized by the exciting John Sauer, who worked for Tonka at the time, and he absolutely loved writing like this. You find it in a ton of Master System games. He also did a lot of work for the Sega newsletter that would go out to Master System customers back in the day. He'd always end his column with, "Remember, don't say the N-word." He means Nintendo, by the way. You don't need to visit every stage before you get to the final level, but you probably want to in order to make sure you have all of the skills that you forgot to read up on when you had the chance. Oh, and there are also training rounds. Here, you go through an obstacle course, and if you barely touch anything, thou art but a novice. Make it to the end, and thou didst very well. As a reward, thou shalt be granted an increase in life. Some of the stages are a bit maze-like, though it's very tough to get lost. I used to have all of this memorized back when the game came out, but these days I'm a little foggy as I haven't played through this one to the end in a very long time. The graphics are pretty good for a 2 megabit game. Nice color and detail, though most stage graphics are reused more than once for later levels. This level is unique though, and it even has the face of Alex Kidd carved into the stone wall. You see it? This is only right here in the game, nowhere else. Well, except that it's also right here too. I like how big most of the characters are, like it wants to be a 16-bit game. The sound and the music are good, and I like it in both PSG and FM audio. This entire review is using the FM sound. It's too bad that Sega never continued with this franchise into the 16-bit days. Maybe it didn't sell very well. And also, they were having a lot of success with the Shinobi games on the Genesis. But you should try this one. There's no excuse not to in modern times. You can't say, "I don't have Sega, I can't play it." No, yes you can. You find a way. And there you go, some more games that you might want to try that maybe you never gave a second thought to. And I want to ask you guys, what are some other games that you feel are overlooked? Let me know down below. In the meantime, thank you for watching GameSag. So welcome back to another episode, and yes, I want to talk about some memories that I have. And here's a question mark on top of my table. Do you like question marks? Let me know down below. And no, I'm not Adam Savage, so quit asking. Nor am I Dave King from the Celtic punk band Flogging Molly. And I'll put it to you guys, do you think Adam Savage or Dave King look like me? Let me know down below. And I want to start by going back to 1974 to my first memory. That was when I was born, and what a crazy day that was. And I'll ask you guys, what is your first memory? Let me know down below. Another memory I have is back when I made my first New Game Stuff episode. Now, it's only been a few years, but can you believe it? I'm about to make New Game Stuff episode 932. And here is some random video game footage to help with the pacing of the show. And I want to ask you guys, do you like video games? Let me know down below. Another memory I have is when the PlayStation 4 came out, and that controller, it didn't have a start button. It only had share and option. How am I supposed to start the game? I've never been able to do it. And I'll ask you guys, have you ever figured out how to start a game on the PlayStation 4 or even the PlayStation 5? Let me know down below. Okay, so I've got to admit that while I do have a great memory, there are some things that I don't remember. Like flushing the toilet. I can never remember to flush the toilet after I'm done using it. Oh my God, it makes Kim so mad. In fact, I better go check the toilet before Kim gets home. So anyways, guys, until next time.